Munchkins and viewers alike, it's me Munchie and welcome back to a Munchie Talk discussion. Today we are going to be talking mainly about the new care guides from Petsmart. Now I've collected some of these care guides in the past. I want to say the last known video was back in 2019 of past care articles from our pet stores here in America. In the past, Petsmart has kind of separated both a hamster care guide and a dwarf hamster care guide, but in an updated version they somehow went with two in one deal right here, and the last one was actually kind of foldable, so it had more sections to it. However, we only get 2 pages worth in this one from Petsmart now, so I get to review this with you guys today. And also, for those of you who are new and maybe stumbled upon this video, I am, I guess, a considered YouTube educator. I am not a professional, however, so make sure that you always take what you see online with a grain of salt and just run with the information you are given and hear what people and their experiences are when doing your own research online. I just want to make that clear here because what we're going to be reviewing is getting to know your Syrian and Dwarf hamster from Petsmart. Now, veteran hamster owners will definitely know that this is not going to be good care, which this care guide came out in 2020, and hamsters didn't become popular until probably the 80s. That's when you started to see a lot of plastic enclosures come out, and in the 90s when everything kind of started to pick up and plastic became like this big cool thing where, hey, if you didn't like a small animal before, you're definitely gonna love it now because of our enclosures. So honestly, back in the past, you would most likely get hooked on the type of animal in a pet store when it had cool accessories to go with it. And so that's kind of how all these pet stores kind of gained momentum with advertising their small animal pets, is by having very not so great enclosures that we have learned today are not so appropriate. So I'm going to be reviewing this as an educator to let you guys know what is appropriate in the setting you're going to see today, which I'm reviewing this in America. So there's going to be different care guides for different countries out there, like the United Kingdom and Germany, where they have their own care guides, laws, you name it. So, first page says energetic and athletic hamsters. Their fur-lined pouches that extend from their head to their shoulders help them transport food. Experience level beginner. Now, people can argue based off of what words you see here that hamsters are definitely not for beginners. However, a beginner doesn't necessarily need to mean a child. A beginner means a pet that could be very simplistic if given all the right information to that specific beginner owner to make them understand this species completely so there's no hiccups. So technically, yes, hamsters can be for beginners. However, there is hamsters being bred in the United States called Campbell's Russian Dwarf hamsters, which are not actually full bred anymore. They're hybrids. And unfortunately, these hamsters have been bred to be very aggressive and agitated, and Campbell's Russian Dwarf hamsters have what's known as territorial and behavioral aggression. Now, some people can argue that those hamsters, unfortunately, due to the way they are now being bred as I'm recording this video, they should definitely not be for beginners, but they are still considered to be beginner animals based off of the care that goes into them. Next, size. Dwarf hamsters grow up to 3 to 4 inches. Syrian hamsters grow up to 5 to 7 inches. Now, these standards are not, I guess you could say they're more like norms in what you might see at pet stores. However, ethical breeders are breeding some really big hamsters that are being imported from United Kingdom and places like the Netherlands. And those hamsters are quite big, especially Syrian hamsters, so it really all depends. Lifespan, on average, they live for 2 years. So there's just lumping all the hamsters in this, which is not correct. Robo-Roskies, which are considered dwarf hamsters, live up to 4 years. So just summarizing that they can live for 2 years really makes Petsmart seem like they don't trust people with their pets. It's like, oh yeah, we got 5 domestic hamster species, and some of them actually live longer than others, but we're just gonna tell people they live up to 2 years and just hope that they do okay, yeah. But unfortunately, due to complications from pet stores that take their animals from breeding mills and suppliers, that these animals mills might not even make it to a year due to complications because those breeding mills have cut corners. Especially during the pandemic, a lot of people are not aware that there was such a high demand for small animals in pet stores that they kept making them come out younger and younger. So the more you guys push to buy hamsters in the store, the more pet stores have to push their orders on the breeding mills. And that can cut a lot of corners. There was a lot of outbreaks at local pet stores where Petco right now has a ringworm infestation at one of their breeding mills that they get their animals from, and that is not cool. Not cool at all. And there was a lot of hamsters that came in with wet tail. You don't know how many times I've seen in the hamster group saying we just got our hamster from Petco or Petsmart and they have wet tail. Please guys, do your research. Do your research on pet stores when they supply hamsters, small animals, etc., and learn about where they come from. It's not that great, both at breeding mills and in the store themselves, because you're having two separate teams taking care of the animals as they're slowly growing up. Behavior. Hamsters are nocturnal and love running on their hamster wheels at night. Diet. Hamsters are omnivores. Social. While Syrian hamsters are sociable with humans, they are solitary animals. Good job. And should live alone. Most dwarf hamsters, however, are social animals and can be housed with another of the same sex. I want to just nip that in the butt right there. Petsmart's little name tags in the past have said for Hungarian winter whites, solitary on them. And they probably should have left it at that. Yes, these guys can be housed together. However, due to incompetence from the pet store employees, no offense, because I used to be a pet store employee, so I know the incompetence of my staff that I worked with at several different locations. You guys could probably feel the same if you work in the pet store-like environment. And just seeing that these guys don't usually promote people the correct information and go based off of what the cards say or what the little booklet says, because they're not really versed in hamster care and welfare. So a lot of misinformation is out there for dwarf hamsters. Dwarf hamster pairs really are hard when you don't know what you're doing, when you are a beginner, and a lot of the times the reason why people get two is because they have multiple children, they think it'll be fun, or they think it's cute. You don't know how many times I've seen people say, well, they were so cute together in the pet store, I wanted them to come home with me. However, when you're supplied a very small enclosure and they become territorial, you will not know what to do because you're getting your information based off of somebody at the pet store that spends probably no more than 5 minutes with them a day. So that's why I'm here. Hi, and other YouTubers as well. Hamster Habitat. Now this is the Crystal Light Habit Trail. And this cage I actually reviewed, and some people actually thought this would be a really good travel carrier. Don't. Please don't. I'm just gonna say this in this video now. This isn't even sold at Petsmart. It's probably being sold on Chewy, but I recently found out Chewy is no longer associated with Petsmart, and Petsmart no longer owns Chewy as of November 2020. So in future videos, I get to be saying that to you guys, but this right here is not sold at Petsmart. And I'm surprised they did not put Tiny Tails Castle right here, because that's the #1 seller, is that Tiny Tails Castle. It is insane how many I see around here now. And that is a very bad picture because it's very small, and even though it shows you in a very small section all the things that supposedly your hamster needs, it's gonna give people the wrong idea about size. So, how do I set up a hamster habitat? Place the habitat in a low humidity area that's cool. Temperature should be between 65 to 75 degrees and out of direct sunlight. Line the habitat with an appropriate amount of clean bedding. The bedding should be spot cleaned as needed and changed as directed by product packaging. Now, not all the time this packaging is going to tell you how long you're supposed to have the product in there for, and it also depends on the surface area, which they completely avoided. They're like, it's at your discretion, basically, which is very misleading. When it comes to enclosures, hamsters should have a minimum of 3 inches of bedding. However, 5 to 6 is ideal, with more being better, and if you can supply that in your environment, go ahead and do it, because they are foraging burrow animals. So they really do like to have that bedding. Add in transport tubes and exercise wheel for play and exercise. Add in. So they're basically saying to you, don't forget to add in the tubes and the exercise wheels. Now, tubes are just kind of an added thing. It's not needed, but they should say, just like I believe their old old care guide said a wheel should be in their enclosure 24/7. And here it just says add in the wheel. Hide houses will provide your hamster with a private spot. Edible nests will encourage your pet to chew and should be cleaned regularly. Oh my god, they just included the edibles, the edible woods. Why would you? Okay, so for those of you who are unaware, Snack Shack, or now All Living Things has an wood edible hide. Don't place these inside your enclosures because the number one ingredient is going to be edible wood. Now, I haven't really looked further into the new All Living Things edible hide because it was a hay hide that says it was edible until I saw it contain wood shavings. One of my fans did note that there is an edible wood out there where it is like in the core of the tree, and I forgot which tree it was. It could be that this is an edible wood, which would make it safe to consume. However, I don't know this. I'm not going to be calling the company asking around questions. You guys are welcome to do so, but just be aware things like Eco Nutrition, the Snack Shacks, we don't know if those woods are edible. And having wood shavings be contained with honey and other things that are edible, it will encourage them to eat it, which is not safe. And now that Petsmart has edible nests will encourage your pet to chew and should be cleaned regularly, that makes me a little nervous. And when they say edible, they might also mean hay, because there is hay type of hides. However, hamsters, they don't digest the hay. Hay is a great nesting material for them, and it also provides them trimming of their teeth when they go to gnaw on it. Just like with any animal that has incisors that will constantly grow, and they need resources like hay to be able to trim those down, and different types of woods and textures. So, it doesn't say anything in here about chew toys. I am actually very distraught they left out chew toys here. Okay, this makes me really mad because this is what I see so often in Craigslist rehoming ads. Nobody provides them with chew toys, and they don't specify here that the hide houses are chew toys. Now, if you get hide houses that are wood, great, because that is still a material they can chew on. However, a lot of the times people will buy plastic, and Tiny Tales comes out with a lot of different plastic components, and by them saying in here add the tubes, which of course are plastic, and those tubes, by the way, are way too small for Syrian hamsters, which they say on their advertising that the Syrians might not fit in their tubes, and yet they are literally saying transport tubes and exercise wheel, and they're not given a clear description of the sizing issues of the hamsters, even though they are lumping together Syrian hamsters, which are way bigger than dwarf hamsters, and they're just lumping them together. I mean, reading this and how simplistic and stupidly vague it is, you could probably see why I'm trying to control my temper. However, I have a sinus infection that is clogging up my head right now, so if you're wondering why I'm not going absolutely crazy, it's because of that. I just don't want to yell right now, but I might, who knows. What should I feed my hamster? 80% pelleted food. Now, pelleted also refers to lab blocks, and it gets very confusing because some people are like, oh, pelleted food, that does not mean seed mix, that means just a compacted pellet, which is a lab block. So that's why they're not saying lab block here, but they're saying 80% pelleted food. This is your hamster's everyday main course, refresh daily, and always keep the bowl 3 to 4% full. No! Hamsters, they will take back the food they find and put it in their little storage compartments that they've made inside of their enclosure. They're not going to leave the food in the bowl. It is a waste. What we do here at the rescue, because I own and operate a rescue here in Washington State, is we give Syrian hamsters 2 tablespoons worth of seed mix every 2 to 3 days, and with some lab blocks included in that seed mix. Same with dwarf hamsters, 1 tablespoon every 2 to 3 days. And because they're not telling you how much you're supposed to be giving them, they're just telling you to keep the bowl 3/4 full, this will cause them to pouch and put and store their food. And you wanna know what they do with their food? They poop around it, they urinate on it, and you know what happens to that food after a while? It becomes moldy. You might be wondering, why is seed mix getting moldy? Because that would indicate that there should be some sort of wet or humidity issue. That moldy food is being protected by the hamster. So if they are not eating that much, and they're actually storing more food because you keep giving them too much food, then it becomes a problem. 15% vegetables. Oh, no, 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 no. That's a big no. So it doesn't really give you a clear idea as to like how much, what's going to be the size portion of it. They just say fresh vegetables served daily. I just feel like when beginner owners look at this and go 15% vegetables, they're just not going to be calculating enough fresh vegetables in their diet by saying served daily, and they don't even know the size portions of them. So this is just kind of misleading. Oh, here it is. 5% fruit and treats. Offer treats and fruits like oranges and blueberries twice a week. I would definitely not be doing oranges. Don't do oranges because the acidic in oranges is not good for them. Note, be sure to remove fruit after a few hours. Yeah, like people are gonna go back and try to look at their little foraging area and their storage area, and they're gonna go, oh, they threw them in the storage compartment. I'm just gonna pull that out. Really stupid. Like, they're literally telling you disrupt your hamster after giving them food, even though they say in the beginning, their fur-lined pouches that extend from their head to their shoulders help them transport food, but they don't talk much about the hamsters storing their food, and that's what they're known for because they travel anywhere from 5 to 10 miles a night in the wild, depending on the species. This is not cool, guys. Water. A water bottle or bowl of fresh, clean water every day. When should I contact a veterinarian? Oh boy. In addition to regularly scheduled appointments, wait, you regularly schedule appointments for your hamster? Unfortunately, their life cycle is very, very small. So it might be a good idea to go every half a year to your vets just for a checkup, or when you suspect that there is something wrong. Contact your small animal veterinarian if you notice the following signs: cloudy, sunken, or swollen eyes, wheezing, which a lot of people get confused for just their squeaking, which is, you know, it's very, very hard to tell when someone's squeaking or when they're wheezing due to their little tiny voice boxes. Sneezing, discharge from the eyes, nose, or mouth, overgrown front teeth, which hamster teeth are naturally very long. So this used to be what a lot of people used to freak out at when seeing their hamster's teeth. They're like, oh my gosh, those are so long. Shouldn't they be little stubs? If you really pull back the mouth and open it up, you can see how long they are. As long as they don't look like they are sharp and going to puncture the top of the roof of the mouth or have already impacted the roof of the mouth, they should be fine. And they should be a yellow coloration. Bare patches in the fur. People also tend to freak out because males are more prominent on Syrian hamsters with their scent glands, which are bald. They say nowhere in here the natural body of these hamsters and what they look like. Same for dwarf hamsters. They have, for males, a more prominent scent gland on their stomachs, and people may freak out at this, not knowing what it is. These are completely normal. Sores on the feet. Now that's also a good idea to watch out for this because guess what? Metal wheels give them bumblefoot, which is inflammation due to the sensitivities of their pads. Weight loss. Not eating or drinking normally, diarrhea, or discolored droppings, which they do not say. Syrian hamsters get wet tail. It is so common. So it's just disappointing how vague and not so informational this is. However, they might want you guys to buy their books, which I don't believe Petsmart has books anymore. I know Petco at one point used to sell books, and I don't know about Petsmart because we really don't have a lot of Petsmarts in this area. I used to shop all the time at Petco because they're the closest things around to me. But let's check out the back. Shopping checklist. What will I need for my hamster? Dwarf hamster, habitat size 12 by 12 by 12. Okay, so the height for like 12 inches, it is kind of short. I usually keep my dwarf hamsters in low tub bin cages that I have made because it's much easier and they don't get hurt inside of them by climbing wired enclosures. They're usually much taller than that. So 12-inch height is not bad. However, 12 by 12 is way under the 450 square inch minimum of the United States. That is only 144 square inches. So they are basically telling you, and it doesn't even say a minimum here. That's supposed to be their standard of a minimum. That is basically them telling you that's the ideal setup for them. And it says multi-level home preferred. No, we're still promoting this crap. Oh my gosh, no, they need horizontal space. They don't need to be up in the sky. They're gonna tell you their care is similar to mice, rats, and also chinchillas, maybe even ferrets if you use your multi-level home for ferrets. Like things that scale up the walls like sugar gliders. Yeah, no. Hamsters are not like monkeys. They're not going to be able to scale up the wall like that. Do not provide more height. Fall damage really does seriously injure them, and I wish people learned about that, and they just don't because pet companies rather take your money than give you proper advice and education. So anyways, Syrian hamster habitat size 20 by 10, that's 200 square inches. And that is below standard. But look at this, they say 12-inch height. That's really small. Because hamsters are so big, they require bigger wheels, which is usually 10 to 12 inches. And hearing me say 10 to 12 inches, you're gonna think, oh my gosh, with that stand height, that's gonna be well above what they're requiring of 12-inch height. That's why I say some enclosures are more suitable for Syrian hamsters when making comparisons for smaller, not so tall enclosures. So Syrians need like a 40-gallon breeder tank, which is 17 inches high, and it does matter when you're able to put in a lot more bedding, you can put in a lot taller hides and bigger wheels. And for dwarf hamsters, at the rescue now, we are promoting 8-inch wheels for Campbell's Russian Dwarf, Winter Whites, but for Roboroskis, they can still be in a 6.5-inch wheel, which is what a lot of places sell. However, Petsmart sells 8-inch wheels, so for dwarfs, 8-inch wheels is like a bare minimum for them besides the Robo. But this is just awful, and it says multi-level home preferred. No! Even though Syrians have stronger climbing strength than dwarf hamsters, they can still damage themselves from a fall. They can land on limbs incorrectly, which at the rescue we had a 3-level enclosure for a hamster, and they were walking like this on their sides here, and it never healed. And it was due to what our vets speculate as fall damage from the enclosure of which the past owners had them in. So please guys, don't. Pelleted hamster food. Now they don't ever talk about in here seed mixes, so I'm very sad because you probably have seen at Petsmart they sell a load of seed mixes. So people are just not gonna know what's the difference. They don't include it, they just say a pelleted diet, and what I used to hear, the slogan from Petco all the time, was that, oh, they are picky eaters, so a lab box with everything compacted inside of there will prevent them from being picky, which has some truth to it. But with seed mixes, it helps with trimming of nails, especially in dwarf hamsters, where they have to hold the shell and then try to eat from it. Now, when dwarf hamsters get very long nails, it's very hard for them to walk. Same with Syrians. I've actually seen a few Syrians with longer nails than need be. You would have to trim those nails if they don't have any abrasive surfaces to walk on, or if they are not eating seed mixes with shells. So that's just something to consider. Food dish, which you don't really necessarily need unless you are monitoring the intake of food. There's been a few times at the rescue where, yes, we do have bowls, but it's due to us trying to monitor their intake of food and just to see if they're active within their enclosure, because we're not going to be able to check up on them, or we would not like to disturb their sleep cycle if they are still sleeping by the time we're interacting with them. So a lot of the times I place food in there, I leave, I'll come back, and if they still haven't eaten, there's something wrong. Bowls can be fine, but they're not needed if you scatter feed in their enclosure so that they can go and hunt for it. Exercise wheel, must. Hide. It should be hides with an S on the end, because you should not just be providing one. They're prey animals, they're gonna need multiple. Nesting material, which is basically bedding, but nesting material could be hay. So they could have just said nesting material like hay, because you're gonna think, oh, nesting material, cotton fluff, right? Wrong. Cotton fluff doesn't really break down very well, and if pouched and traveled with, can twist inside their intestines, causing strangulation from inside. So cotton fluff, please do not use. It's still being sold at specific pet stores, and it's a danger to hamsters, so just use toilet paper that can easily break down, not your little cotton swabs that you get from the grocery store. Treats and wood chew. Wood chew, not chews, wood chew. You should really be providing multiple chews, like I said before, due to them constantly growing their incisors, their teeth. So chew toys need to be a constant thing, and this is very, very vague. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I can check out more care guides of different species of animals in the future. But for right now, Syrian and Dwarf Hamster Care Guide is awful. Petsmart, do better. If you liked the video, hit like to show support, comment down below with anything you'd like to say, and subscribe if you're new here and would like to become a part of the Munchkin family. I am Munchie, signing off. Bye-bye.